Welcome to We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. I'm Alicia Jay, and today I am here with someone that I've really wanted to talk to for a while, especially with the league that he has founded. But today we're joined by president and co-founder of Unrivaled, Alex Bazzell. Thank you so much for being with us.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's just jump right in because Unrivaled, the growth has been unprecedented. Most recently, you broke records, literally made history with 21,490 fans at your first tour stop in Philly. Did you anticipate that turnout? Was that something that you guys thought was going to happen before the day even started?
What's crazy is one, we knew the venue could hold a certain amount of fans, that this was an opportunity. Now, we wouldn't have probably imagined our first stop being this well received, because until we do it, we really don't know. We have a lot of a thesis of this sport, and the fan base is hungry for more, and bringing it to bigger markets, bigger arenas was something always in our blueprint. But it was really incredible to see that kind of reaction, and the city open their arms the way they did for the first ever stops. So I'm pretty excited, but now we have to manage expectations that we're not going to go break a venue record every single time. But it's really cool, and it's really cool for the players that they got to experience that as well.
Yeah, I was having major FOMO not being there. I'm going to be honest. I was watching all the coverage, which your coverage is always phenomenal. But one thing that I really love about it is that it's in cities that don't currently have professional women's basketball. Can you tell us anything about future tour stops when it
Yeah, of
comes to
course.
that?
Yeah, I think we have an obligation to try to help continuously grow the sport. The WNBA is taking off. They're in 15 markets starting next year, soon to be 18, but there's still a lot of cities that don't really get to experience these players up close and personal, which means there's a lot of young athletes and young girls that don't ever get to feel them and see them up close and personal. So, moving forward, we want to have kind of a balancing act. We want to continue to serve the great fan bases of the WNBA, because those are our fans, while two, going to new markets, which hopefully helps bring more fans overall to women's basketball in the professional landscape. So, we're already in deep dialogue with a number of different cities and venues, and our goal for next year is to be 6 stops or above. So we're working on that in real time.
Ooh, that's a lot to orchestrate. Obviously, your home base is in Miami. When it comes to these tour stops, what goes into planning something like that? Like how many, year did you plan this even before the league started? Like how many years go into it?
Yeah, I mean, we knew this model was going to be a part of our blueprint, but in terms of Philly, that really started getting put together in late summertime. So, we went through a number of additions, with adding 2 teams, with enhancing our own home venue and arena with 250 more seats and more show court, like all these enhancements we had to make for the day in and day out experience for fans here and for our athletes. So doing one was, it gave us some time, but quite honestly, when we had the city, the mayor, the Philly sisters with Wanda and Alex Sykes get involved, it made it a no-brainer for us. So, yeah, it's a lot of time goes into it, especially for us. It's not one; it's numerous next year. So we're already getting well ahead of that and working with TNT on the calendar and schedule. So there's a lot of moving parts to make sure that like we can work in a city for a singular night while also staying on our schedule for our TV partner.
Well, obviously it's a different sport, but the PWHL has had a lot of success in Canada. So has the WNBA. Could we possibly be seeing, a travel to up north at some point?
Nothing's off the table for us. We have been getting a lot of outreach since Philly. So yeah, I mean, I think we want to continue to go to as many spots as possible. And Toronto and Canada in general, it's such a great basketball country. You look at the men's side, the women's side of how many Olympians also are in the WNBA. Obviously we have Aaliyah Edwards with us, who represents Team Canada. So yeah, I'm not going to say that's like a for sure thing, but it's certainly always been a city of interest for us as we consider where we want to go.
Well, considering that your growth has been so immense, to watch it has been phenomenal, just in the short amount of time that you've had the league. And I think a big part of that is social. The way that you cover what you do is something that I think I'm a social media manager. I think every social media manager should look to you as the blueprint in a lot of ways. What were you looking for when you were going to like hire for your social team? What were you looking for? Like, what was most important to you in a person or a team to hire for that?
Yeah, well, I think we wanted people who understood basketball culture that were standing on the other side of the camera. Like we know who we're shooting. I think what makes our content so relevant is you look at All-Star Weekend. All-Star Weekend, you get a combination of all the best players in one spot, but it's a 3-day sprint, right? And that's where a lot of highly engaged content comes because you get players interacting from different teams for the first time. So there's a curiosity to it. Well, we get that for 10 weeks. So we have this distinct advantage where all the players are in one market. So our ability to shoot content, not just with each club, but intermingle players' interactions is so rare because of our setup. But in terms of our social team, we've doubled in size since last year. A big thesis for us was how do we actually bring fans behind the curtain a little bit deeper into knowing who these players are? Because the players are all, extremely enjoyable people. They have their own interests, and then obviously they're competitors on the court. So what does that variance look like? I think you see it kind of coming out with a Marina Mabry. Marina's
Yeah.
fiery on the court, but like off the court, she's almost completely the opposite and bubbly and fun and but that's what makes her great. And that's what also makes her respected in this building. So to have that is so key. But yeah, I mean, all of our content people, they understand basketball culture and they're all fans, right? They know what fans are going to want to see, which gives us this unique opportunity to create something and listen to our fans. And that's I think the last part of this is we read all the comments. We read every comment. We make sure that we're interacting as much as possible, because the fans are usually going to be your compass. And as long as you're listening to them and interacting with them, then we got to continuously improve kind of where we're coming from and how we can create content on something that they're going to want to consume.
You talked about having all of the players together as being something so important. Can you speak to the training aspect of that? Because they're training with players that they don't normally train with. It's the best players out there. Is that part of the model too when it comes to Unrivaled?
It is. Like my background before that, I used to work with a number of players and NBA athletes. So that was my career. So when we started building out this vision of what does the WNBA's offseason look like? Well, these players are going to be training every day. They're always trying to play pickup. That's what the men do. Well, we have that just at an enhanced level here. So it's truly like iron sharpens iron. There's no better way to develop than to compete against the other top players in the world once or twice a week. While also for me, being heavily focused on hiring people that not just are best in what they do from a player development standpoint, but also on the training and performance staff. Susan Borchard runs that vertical and she runs it for Team USA. So like we prioritize hiring the best people, the resources for the athletes so that when they leave here, they feel like they're also ready for, what inevitably the WNBA season brings. So I think it's a great setup overall for the athletes in that regard.
And I heard there's going to be a side of, taking these phenomenal athletes that you have and having them teach the next generation. What does that look like when it comes to Unrivaled?
Yeah, so we have something that's in development right now, which is essentially, training, right? Training content. How do we give back to the next athletes that's hopefully trying to get inspired or work on their games or even know what they should be working on. There's so many levels of where you're at in your basketball career, but what better way to learn than from the top women in the world? And I think just creating that segue to me has never really been done at scale. Like there's been camps that have happened and all these things, but what is the actual blueprint where if I'm a dad and I have a 3-year-old daughter right now, how do I get her into these doors that have really never been open and are usually dependent on, what kind of financial means that you have at your disposal. Whereas we want to kind of open it up regardless of that and make sure every young girl and even boy around the country can learn from these players and take something from them and implement it in their own time.
Yeah, access is definitely incredibly important. I can speak for myself as somebody who played college basketball. I didn't have that. I did not have that. So having that would be unprecedented when it comes to especially women's sports. But as you said, for all athletes, I'm really curious. You're obviously not the only emerging league in women's basketball. There's spaces that are opening up, different leagues that are opening up,
Mhm.
and what do leagues like that mean for Unrivaled, like the growth of Unrivaled? And do you look at it as competition or just another player in the space to help the space?
It's a good question. I think there's a cookie cutter answer, which is, oh, it's great. It's competition, right? Which I don't think is a negative. I think it enhances the sport and pushes it along even further. But for us, I think where we're confident and what we're focused on is running our own race, right? You can't get caught up into all these other things that are happening outside. That we just got to continue to double down and be who we are, and do what we do, because it's hard to ignore that the success we've had out of the gate, but now it's like, how do you continuously keep that success? So it's something we keep an eye on, but it's not something that really drives internal decisions from a daily standpoint. It's, we know who we are, where we're going, where we're trying to be. But I do think it's a testament to the growth of the sport, which is undeniable, right? I think when you look at where we're at, I still think we're very early. I know a buzzword that's been thrown out there is sustainability, whether it's in the WNBA, in women's sports, and Unrivaled, in new leagues, is no one really knows, because no one's seen this movement before. But I think when you look at it, it's because of resources. It's because of platforms have finally been opened up, where in the past those did not exist. So I still think we're very early on the growth trajectory of the sport. And quite honestly, like, we have right now 54 players from the WNBA, which means there's another 100 plus that are going to be hopefully playing, competing, and trying to also earn a living. So we're not upset that these opportunities exist. They should exist. How it shakes out over time, it'll be interesting to see. But it's, for right now, we have a mission and a goal, is to serve the best fans in the world and also serve the best players in the world, which I think we're doing so far so well, but one day at a time.
You're certainly doing it well. I will say that you are doing it well.
Yep.
And you talked about growth, movement, all of those things, and with growth there comes challenges too. And right now in the WNBA, they have CBA talks that are continuing, and there have been reports that as they continue to expand, if time goes on, that you might, I should say, Unrivaled might be able to do a year-round model. Is that something that you're looking at? Is that something that is true and that you're looking to execute if need be?
Yeah, it's funny. We get lumped into a lot of CBA conversations, and I think that's par for the course. It's probably a testament of the noise we've been making in a positive way in the space. But to be completely blunt, like, we want the WNBA CBA to get done. Like, I think the WNBA running and operating and continuously growing is great marketing exposure for our league, because a lot of top players that play there play with us. So I think that there's, for us, what's great about being a startup and we own all the teams is we can move quickly, but we don't look at ourselves as someone who wants to operate year round. Like, we see ourselves as very clearly running in our lane during the winter time, filling this gap in women's basketball. I compare it all the time to, if you look at the NBA's calendar, it's filled up for the entire year. You have summer leagues, you have pro-ams, you have combines, you have the draft. In women's basketball, the WNBA runs from, essentially through the summer into the early fall, but then it's gone dark until we really stepped into the limelight. So I do think that both of these things help one another. And what I've told people all the time, we don't need, we prefer the WNBA playing. I think them not playing would be a negative overall in the growth trajectory of the sport. But we benefit from that, right? We benefit from them competing and playing and continuing to grow. But we've always seen ourselves as someone who's complementary in that way, because we don't need to compete to build a successful business, and we've also proven that so far. And I think for them, they've proven that they are very successful regardless of what's going on, during these months of the off season. So it's interesting, because that's the friction point, is the CBA conversation right now. But hopefully once that gets finalized and done, it starts clearing how people really see the entire space evolving.
Well, you have definitely found a lot of success in the entire space, from already expansion, new players, sponsorships, the list goes on and on. What's something that is upcoming that we don't know about yet that you could share with us about the league? And what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, well, I think I'm looking forward to maybe taking a break after we get through March. It's such a sprint as we get through the season. But I'm looking forward. I love building. I love doing new things. What's great about this is tomorrow's a new day and we never know where that direction is going to take us. But I'm excited to carry on the success we had from Philly and now to bring that to new markets. Like, that's going to be my number one priority during the off season. Is we got to now continuously grow what we're doing, growing our brand awareness. You know, we're still in our infancy. We're in season 2, right? We're held to high standards, which is great. But we also have to understand that it takes time to build something. So I'm just excited about, there's nothing off the table right now for the league. But for now, we have our one-on-one tournament coming up. I know we release it on the 7th, our bracket, and then we have our playoffs that are right around the corner, early March. So there's a lot coming up for us, which I'm really excited. But we do have a couple key announcements coming up that I don't think I can share just yet, but we'll have some big splashes still to come this year that most people don't know about. So stay tuned for that.
Well, we certainly will. We'll be there and we'll get them out on social as soon as they happen, for sure. Well, after y'all do, because you guys do everything first and in a hurry. I love it. When I think you talked about taking a break, when I think about, you as a founder, I know you do more than Unrivaled as well, which is crazy to me. And then in addition to that, you're a father. So when I think about Mila, and like, she's around all these phenomenal women. And she's around change makers, women who are powerful. What does that mean to you to have her be in that space?
It's awesome. I was telling the FISA the other day, it's like, these are memories she probably doesn't fully appreciate, because it's like right now it's mom, and then it's Paige Beckers, who she calls Cage, like it's Azare. It's like, it's a slew of women who are probably going to be, 20 years from now, you look back and be like, these are some of the greatest players that ever played the game. And she was around all of them. And all of them are like very loving and caring for her. They go out of their way to make sure she's having fun. I mean, we had Paige came by our apartment and just picked up Mila and took her to go get candy, right? And like, that's a norm for Mila, but it's not normal when you like take a step back and know what kind of memory she's making. So for her to be around these influential women, but also women who are great people, like they're obviously superstars, but they don't treat anyone any differently. So learning that at such a young age, that regardless of who you are, how popular you are, how much money you make, that everyone's treating everyone the same, and to have them treat our daughter that way and instill those things that we try to instill every day in our household is carry out throughout the players towards her. It's really cool. You can't put it into words as a parent, but it's incredible that these players have opened their arms the way they have for her.
Well, you mentioned Paige, and something that we have been tracking is the auntie rivalry between Paige and Sabrina. We absolutely love it. It's been going back and forth on social. Now, I don't know. Can you settle it? Who would you say gets the top auntie spot?
Well, I think Mila's like, what have you done for me lately kind of mentality. So the fact that Paige is around and giving her candy consistently, it probably gives her a nudge, but Sabrina's competitive. So Sabrina's going to find her way back in there and in the race. So yeah, for now, I'd probably give the nudge to Paige, but again, that's strictly because she's dealing with a 3-year-old who's she knows she can bribe through candy. So it's still a long race ahead.
What kind of candy does she like? I'm curious.
Well, she's fixated on nerds right now, which nerds I haven't seen since like I was a kid. So the fact that they're like re-emerging and now that's her thing. And then she had Skittles. She's like a candy junkie. So we have to like cut her off and make sure that after a certain point that no players are allowed around Mila because they keep sneaking her stuff. but that's where we're at.
Absolutely love it. Nerds and Skittles, the way
Yeah,
to Mila's heart.
exactly.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I know you're busy. It was phenomenal having this conversation with you, and we will continue to watch the growth of Unrivaled as it catapults even more than it already has. So thank you so much, Alex.
Thank you for the time. I appreciate it.